Hi all. Today I will be discussing you with the integumentary system of vertebrates. So why we have to study the integumentary system of vertebrates? It is because to understand the origin and the evolutionary origin of the highly adapted of the largest considered as the largest organ of the human being, the skin. Skin is present not only in humans, whereas other structures like nails, hair associated with skin are also present, whereas based on the adaptation, each individual belongs to each phyla has a different functions. So together, they are called the integumentary system. What's an integument? Integument is the external covering of an animal. It protects the animal from mechanical and chemical injury, invasion of microorganisms. Along with this, there are various evolutionary adaptations that are regulation of body temperature, excretion of waste materials, vitamin D3 formation, reception of environmental stimuli, pain, temperature and pressure, locomotion and movement of nutrients and gases. The first one is the skin. It is the vertebrate integument. It is the largest organ considered. Why? Because its growth with the animal. It has three layers: the epidermis, dermis, and the hypodermis. Epidermis is the outer layer. It is made up of epithelial and several cell sticks, whereas dermis is made up of connective tissue, collagenous, reticular, and elastic fibers, whereas hypodermis is found deep inside the tissues. It's a loose connective tissue containing adipose tissue and various nerve endings. When we study the evolutionary history, the vertebrate, it started with the fishes. The first fish, the earlier fishes called the jawless fishes, like lampreys and hagfishes. The skin, if you see, they are relatively thick. It has many glandular cuticles and it is called a protective cuticle. For example, in hagfishes, the skin has many slime glands. It produces large amount of slime that covers the body surface. It functions to protect from parasites and the enemy. Whereas in the skin of cartilaginous fishes, like sharks and rays, they are multi-layered, containing very mucus and sensory cells. They have dermis. The dermis have scales called placoid scales. They are called denticles or the little teeth. These denticles contain blood vessels and nerves. They grow with the animals and they shed off during their old age. They have a sandpaper texture. So this diagram shows the electron microgrowth of the denticles. Then comes the skin of bony fishes. In bony fishes, the skin has many scales or dermal bone. They are not shed. They grow at the margins over the lower surface. They have dermal tissue overlaid by superficial epidermis and the scales. Scales have growth rings that is used for the age of the fish. The skin of this fish is permeable and function as gas exchange. They are rich with capillary beds to help facilitate respiration. They prevent various infections and they secrete substances such as poisonous alkali from the glandular glands. In teleost fishes, which live deep inside the sea, they have photolight producing cells. The skin is modified into light emitting organs like ludes or send warning signals. See this example. Then comes the skin of amphibians. The amphibians, in the evolutionary history, these are the animals, they came from water and they are now trying to, and they are now living in the land. They have to adapt both in the land as well as in the water. So they have a stratified epidermis and a dermis, where various glands along with pigmentation cells, bony scales. In earlier amphibians, there are many bony scales. Then they modified into skin. What are the functions and what are the problems? They suffer from desiccation, UV damage, and physical abrasions. When we go behind the evolutionary aspects, the amphibians develop very adaptive mechanisms like impermeability of protein that helps in the skin protection, such as protection of keratin. Keratin helps these animals from UV light, and the glands helps to avoid desiccation, aids in gas exchange, and escape from the predators. Look at the structure of the skin. This is the poison gland, epidermis, mucous glands, dermis, and subcutis. Then followed some amphibians have poisonous glands within the dermis. So they produce a fluid which is unpleasant, taste and toxic, and make the predator deterrent. Warts of toads are specialized sensory structures. Then comes the skin of reptiles. In reptiles, the outermost skin, they are very hard. It is called stratum corneum. It is highly keratinized with scutes, turtles, rattlesnakes, claws, plaques, and spiny crests and others. The thick skin help in the protection, slows down dehydration, and resist abrasions. Snakes and lizards, they shed and molt repeatedly because of the division of fluid between the layers assist in the molting process. Molting process is otherwise called as ecdysis. The skin has no respiratory function. In reptiles, the skin does not excrete pheromones that function in sex recognition and defense. Ecdysis. It is the molting or shedding of skin. So why it happens? Because no blood supply in the epidermis, therefore the outer epidermal layers, and they lose the contact with the blood supply and die. Lymph moves between the inner and outer epidermis layers to loosen the outer epidermis. Ecdysis typically begins around the head and comes off in one piece, example snakes and lizards. Some shed in little pieces, whereas skin simply flax off. Chromatophores. Many of the reptiles have chromatophores, color producing cells. They are dermal in origin. Cryptic coloration, mimicry, and aposematic coloration, warning coloration are the functions. The color and color change can also occur during sexual recognition as well as when the animal is trying to thermoregulate. More on reptiles. Lizards lack integumentary glands which make them really dry. Snakes, large belly scales to provide contact with the substrate during locomotion. Then comes the birds. Show many reptilian features. These aves show many reptilian features but lack epidermal glands. Only they have a uropygial or preen gland. This gland functions for oil production and is located at the back near the base of the tail. Most of the oil glands are well developed in aquatic bird species. See, they have well developed preen gland. The preen gland, what these animals do, they rub their bill over the gland pore and transfer the oil all over the body and feathers. It improves the health of the feathers, the bill, the scales of the legs and feet. The oil contains a substance that came from vitamin D, which came from sunlight. See this structure. This is the preen gland. Using this beak, the birds, they rub their gland and they remove the oil and they massage over their body. This is an example. See here. Epidermis of birds. In birds, the epidermis is thin, typically 2 or 3 cell layers thick. Outer layer is very soft and feathers are present. Dermis contains lot of blood vessels, lymphatic vessels, nerves and sensory bodies. Air pockets in the dermis are seen for thermal regulations. Dermal smooth muscle fibers helps in the positioning of the feathers. And in aquatic birds, the fat deposit in the hypodermal layer for storing energy and insulating the body. Feathers and colors. Most complex of vertebrate stratum corneum, the outer layer of the skin, has 3 functions. Form the flight surfaces that provide lift and steering. Prevent excessive heat loss, allowing the endothermic maintenance of high metabolic rates Roles in courtship, incubation, and water proofing. Two types of feathers: pinaceous feathers and plumulaceous feathers. Pinaceous feathers. These are flat and tightly closed aerodynamic feathers wings present in wings and tails. It has a shaft, rachis, and branched barbs. Barbules branch off and the barbs are overlap one another. Hamuli, a tiny hook-like structures are seen. They are modified as flight feathers, contour feathers, helps in waterproofing, insulation, and streaming. Plumulaceous feathers, barbs and barbules do not interlock and they give the feather a wispy appearance. Example, down feathers. Down feathers provide insulation and lie between contour feathers. See the structure of these feathers. These are the barbs. This is called the rachis. It's a quill feather, barbecues, hooks, etc. How a feather is formed? It is a growth of an epidermal cell and it becomes a long tube called the feather sheath. Then a ring like follicle comes and the barbs spiral around and the shaft base the form base of the flower. Then comes the mammalian skin. What is the specialization of mammalian skin? It has a hair, huge variety of epidermal glands, highly stratified cornified epidermis, dermis that is many times thicker than the epidermis. See the structure of a mammalian skin. The sweat gland is seen, lymph vessel is seen, oil gland is there, hair follicle, blood vessels, fatty tissues, hypodermis, dermis, and dermis. What is the function of epidermis? It is stratified squamous epithelium, has many variety of cells. Cell division occur quickly and push up towards the surface of the skin. As the cells move from base to the surface, they produce a waterproofing glycolipid. They die and become keratinized. Keratinized is due to the presence of protein keratin. It's a tough protein, water-resistant protein, found in the epidermal cells of mammals, birds, and reptiles in structures such as hair, nails, feathers, hooves, claws, and bills. It is insoluble in water, prevents dehydration. It gives first line of defense to many substances and microorganisms. It has a huge evolutionary history and adaptation. The ability to prevent dehydration allows them to colonize terrestrial environment. See how keratin helps and various proteins helps in the thickest portion of the mammalian skull is the dermis. It is made of blood vessels, lymphatic vessels, nerve endings, hair follicles, sensory receptors, small muscles, and glands. But then comes the hypodermis. Under the dermis, this is where you and your pets get many infections, hypodermic needle. It is different from other vertebrates. It is made up of connective tissue, adipose tissue, and skeletal muscles. The adipose tissues store the fat and form an insulin. The skeletal muscle allow the skin to move somewhat independently of the underlying tissue. Now it's a time for question. It's a brainstorm question. You have to answer. I have three questions. Question number one is that why do animals sweat? Then what is sweat? Is human sweat the same in all other mammals? Whether all other mammals, the sweat is same. That's the big question. You have to answer. Regulation of skin through pores. Skin regulates body temperature by opening and closing pores and releasing sweat perspiring. Not all mammals maintain body temperature, though sweat glands controlled by a hypothalamus. Skins also screen the UV radiation. For example, human and horses. Humans have between 2 to 5 million sweat glands, whereas the only animals that really sweat profusely. Evolution of sweating. Why it needs to sweat? It allows us to run faster and longer than other mammals. The adaptation allows humans to hunt during the hot days while other animals rested and slept, making primates a huge predator. Some research suggests that this adaptation allowed humans to have a bigger, hotter brain. What about horses? Horse sweat has a natural detergent called lathrine. Lathrine protein lathers and functions like a smooth act like a surfactant. Evolutionarily speaking, it is thought that lathrine was first found in horse saliva to assist the breaking down of dry food. But the body evolved and became large, the function moved to the skin as well. Lathering beds, oiled blood hairs facilitate water flow and evaporation. See, this is the sweat of the horse. Then, what do other mammals do rather than sweating? Many animals poop, that is called pooping. Large birds like stork vultures defecate in their legs to keep them cool. Okay, mutts, pig, hippos, boar, buffalo, and some following examples they water from. They play with the water in the mud and they mix the mud in their skin so that they avoid the temperature. See, hippopotamus, deers, buffaloes, and pigs, what they do. If you want to see some videos, you can go to this video how these animals adapt. Then comes the body cooling their bodies, how the environmental temperature is maintained. Ears. Jackrabbits and elephants have a large network of blood vessels in the ears that regulate the body temperature. So too cold means they constrict, too hot means they dilate. This is the method of conserving water. Elephants normally flap their ears like fans to spray their ear with water. So this can reduce the temperature up to 14 degrees. See how this elephant plays. Many advanced studies shows that make scientists to think, why do Asian elephants use their trunk to help them lose body heat, but the African elephants do not? It's a question that elephant experts are yet to answer. This is a thermal image of an elephant. Using thermal. During the day, the elephants flick mud and dirt into their backs to cool themselves, to protect themselves from the sun. But the camera showed that elephants were able to stay at a steady temperature all over, appearing mostly red. For a cooler region, blue at their backs. At night, see how the temperature is maintained. So these are the various. Then the throat vibrations. Fuller fluttering, vibrating muscles born in the throat of birds. It also helps in the evaporation process. Pelicans, owls, herons, doves, quail. You can visit this YouTube. Then comes the estivation. There's a dormant through excessive hot at dry temperature. It's a sleeping. Example, lungfishes. They live underground for months during the dry season. Bee, snail, earthworm, salamander, frogs, earthworm, crocodile, they also survive for adaptation. See, this is an example for estivation habitat. Frog, turtle, lizards, snakes, fishes. See, certain frogs. Then comes the hibernation. When the environment turns cold, then the ectothermic animals they have to produce body temperature, heart rate, so the other activities slows down. For example, bats, birds, mammals, and insects. To conserve energy and survive, chipmunks and squirrels are true hibernators. Why are most mammals not true hibernators? Their body temperature does not get much lower and they are not entirely inactive. Brumation. What is brumation? Hibernation for cold-blooded animals. Ectotherms like reptiles and amphibians hide underground in rocks and burrows. Their body temperature, heart rate, and respiratory activity drops. They will move on warmer winter days to find food and water. Panting. What is panting? Expelling hot air and taking in cool air. For example, cats, dogs, and monkeys they pant. It's a type of adaptation. Fiddling. They get out of the sun. The sun increases the metabolism. Shadow lowers the metabolism. So this is a mechanism of conserving energy. What do hippos do? They sweat in reddish orange. Oily sweat regulates antibacterial. It prevents from sun damage. What sharks and other marine dwellers do? What for the animals having a lot of fur? Fur is the barrier between glands and the environment. For example, primates that are not human, they have sweat glands. Cats have some sweat glands. Okay, so glands in the skin. Saboriferous glands, sweat glands, eccrine glands. So sweat glands help in evaporate cooling. Eccrine glands release watery secretions, and apocrine glands The mixture of salt, urea, and water they secrete, and they produce odor. Sebaceous glands. These are simple glands connected to the hair follicles in the dermis. They help in lubrication, protection, and production of sebum. Pheromones. Some subglands produce pheromones. It's communication. It is mainly for communication. A chemical that is produced the same species. Scent or muscle glands. It's located in the face, feet, and anus. They also secrete pheromones to define species against sex and territorial behavior. Mammary glands. Female mammals. They secrete milks. Water. It contains water, carbohydrates, protein, minerals, antibodies. It fed to the young. Monotremes, egg layers such as duck-billed platypus and horsefish echidna. They have mammary gland, blood, neck, nipples. The glands discharge milk into the depression on the belly and the young lap it up. The other animals, they suck their milk. What is the function of pigment in the integumentary system? To reflect light, to find out the location. It has many blood vessels. It has many bright colors like venomous, toxic, bad tasting, camouflaging to hide. Colors serve as a means of communication, identification among species, sex, reproductive status, or social ranking. Then albinism is found in leucism. These are found in birds, animals, as well as in humans. This is an albin peacock, albin squirrel. It's work for you. Choose a vertebrate from each class and research how that specific species utilizes its pigmentation. Describe the evolutionary history, why this pigment evolved as a beneficial adaptation, how it increases the survival, what is the difference between albinism and leucism with examples, what cool things did you learn. This is your side, this is your project, you have to submit the assignment. Then comes the hair. Hair is composed of keratin and dead cells. It has a hair shaft, root, and a coat. Hair is mostly dead. It may fall. For example, Arctic fox. In the fall, winter season, it takes on a white or creamy color, which helps to blend with the snowy environment. But during the spring, it molds and it develops a new color. See the structure of hair that comes out from the dermal papilla. See, it looks two different colors in two seasons. What is the function of hair? Erector pili muscle. It's a smooth muscle attached to the connective tissue where the muscle contracts and it gives erect position, goosebumps in humans, insulation, intimidating, larger and less like attack. The hair gives the animal a bigger look, more hairy hair. Mechanism of displacement of hair stimulates the nerve cells associated with the roots. Therefore, the term called vibrissae, thickened hairs will be formed and lots of nerves will be there. Therefore, in animals, the hair will be found more in legs, nose, mouth, and eyes. See, functions of vibrissae: tactile discrimination, locomotion, localizing, orientation tracking, and social behavior. So, this is a comparison of antlers versus horns. It's an integumentary part. What is that? Antlers and horns. Antlers are seen in the deer family, especially in Cervidae. Horn is seen in sheep and bovidae. It is branched, it is not branched. It grows vascular, soft skin, velvetized, it is keratinized. Males, it is found, antlers are found in males only, exception in caribou. Whereas horns don't shed, it is found in both the animals. During breeding season, the velvetized goes, whereas in horns, the keratinizes increases. Antlers often shed from the animals, whereas horns they attach to the skull. Then comes the nails. It is a modification of the epidermis. It is flat, horny, claws and hooves, horns, baleen plates involved. These are the various nails. So end of the session. This part is for you. You have to find the answer and go through. Thank you.